first time of being here. Um, so recently I had my first art show, my first solo exhibition, I should say, and that makes me feel qualified enough to, talk about art and my process and seem professional. I'm not, but um, so a little context. Like 40 years ago, I made a piece called Visually Improved. Now, when I made that piece, it was for a final project when I took a semester of college. And recently I realized it was only meant to be, well, I didn't realize it was meant to be, it was only meant to be a prototype for a more official, version of it. I'll throw up an image of it on screen. But recently I moved to New Jersey, and being in a new environment gave me the inspiration I needed to come up with what the actual final project should be. One day I might also make an official version of the prototype, but for now, um, I came up with something even better, and it's kind of fitting that it happened during Disability Pride Month. So I don't necessarily have a title for this yet. The prototype was called Visually Improved because it was a statement on me, my visual impairments, and how how I view it, how connected I feel to it, and all that. But recently, since I moved again, a new environment, I felt inspired to do something even bigger that more capsulated. Well, there's a lot of people in the world that don't fully understand what being visually impaired is. And with this project, I wanted to do something that could hopefully shed a little light on that. So I'm thinking, while it doesn't have a title or anything, it's going to be a bigger installation. The sizing is a little confusing because I still have a lot of research to do on different visual impairments, and I'll get to why in a second. But I still have a lot of research to do on visual impairments, on how I'm going to showcase each variation of a visual impairment. So my idea is, we all know standard eye charts. When we go to the eye doctor, sometimes they'll have you do the test, cover an eye, look at the eye chart, see how much you can read. My idea is a massive version of that. Say massive, because it's probably gonna end up being massive. My idea is it's going to be a massive version of an eye chart. What I'm thinking is, well, ego-wise, the top line is going to be CM for Chris Murphy. But, and then it's going to get smaller, which I thought would be a fun interactive element to include so people can actually take an eye test when they go see it. But my idea, it originally started as, line up the alphabet, and for each letter will represent a different condition. So I have an example here. So I need a different piece of paper. Hang on. So I thought A for aniridia, right? Which I think that's, at least for part of mine, that affects my iris color, so I have none. So I was thinking for the A, it's going to be all black lettering, or the base is going to be black lettering against the white background. But, which now I'm thinking about it, should it be that? Yeah, it can be that. I was gonna say, because some people use inverted colors and stuff, like, white lettering on black backgrounds, or yellow lettering on black backgrounds, or so on. So maybe that's an element I'll think about at a later date. But for right now, I'm thinking for the A, it'll either be like, it'll fade color. So, well, this is a bad example, but it'll be colored, and then it'll just slowly fade to a fully black A, or maybe it's just a regular A. Again, I have to do a lot more research on a whole bunch of different conditions to fully get what each one is going to do and all that sort of stuff. I will say this, when this idea came about, there was one that was particularly, my diorama broke, hold up. But when I first came up with this idea, there was one that was particularly, that was like, oh, that's a good idea, and that was pretty easy to think about, because it was, at least, my problem is I want to go big with it, but if I go too big, it's gonna end up being a travesty, and every condition is gonna clash with one another. So, but this one was pretty easy. Quickly strap this back together. And while I'm looking at it, I should not be doing this on camera. Okay, this isn't working. I'll fix it later. I don't know. It might be easier to show disassembled. So, for the N, it stands for nystagmus, let's say, right? Which is the condition where, your iris or pupil or whatever does this. My idea, very simple. On the white background is this little track. The N will run along that track, back and forth. Very simple, right? But then I figured, okay, because I thought of nystagmus, and I thought of that, and then I thought of the A, and I was like, aniridia, loss of color in the pupil, right? So I thought, what if, well, not, I shouldn't say what if, but, well, actually, no, yeah. What if, people are like, okay, well, what's happening? Because what if someone who's fully blind goes to look at it and it's like, okay, well, what is happening? Because there might be there's going to be a lot more visual elements. Like you might hear the N moving back and forth, but you're not going to see it, right? So what if there was, what can you do to make sure everyone can enjoy it? So, am I holding this the right way? Yeah. So I was thinking, right, how can you make it more accessible? So there's gonna be a little stationary piece in the middle of the N, right? And I came about this idea because I was looking at this Sadie Can Count card, which tells me, all the letters and what their Braille symbol is. And I was thinking, what if just in the center of every letter there is the Braille symbol for what the letter is? Now I'm thinking about it. I was thinking about this today, and I was thinking about if it's going to end up being pretty big. There's the high possibility, the more I think about it, the bigger it's going to be. So what if it was more a decorative thing? And then I'll just have to make sure there's a sign, wherever it's installed, there's a sign at the bottom where you can, maybe it's like a QR code. Actually, that might be better. So maybe it'll be a placard or something where it can be like, oh, these are, all the letters on the eye chart, and then what each one is doing. So it's the N, and then it's moving back and forth, right? For like more movement ones, actually, it could just be arrows. I don't know. The logistics will have to come further down the line. I don't even know what materials I'm going to use for this yet. But there could also be, all right, I was also going to say, there could also be something like a QR code where it's like, oh, here's a list of, here's a more detailed thing of like all of the piece, and like, oh, each condition, each, yeah, right now it's very complicated because it's just an idea. I was a little hesitant about doing the eye chart just because eye charts tend to have a lot more letters than just, a list of the alphabet. But I was thinking about it, and it just kind of made more sense as an interactive, what's the word I'm looking for? as an interactive element, just to be like, oh, well, you can also just take a night test for fun. But also, the signature, my signature, so the CM at the top, so it's, I don't have to just awkwardly put a signature at the bottom or something like that. But for the materials wise, I'm thinking it'll be a box to more easily just hide all the electronics. Like, like a car engine is gonna be I'm gonna use a car engine to make the N move back and forth. But honestly, there's gonna have to be a box to make it look all neat and nice. There's gonna be a vent. When I say box, it makes me think like a massive just treasure chest, and it's like that's not gonna happen. I want to try and make it as thin as possible so it's not as a giant white box isn't as jarring in the middle of an installation. But there's gonna have to be at least a little vent just in case, because again, nothing massive is gonna make stuff like the letter N move back and forth. You don't need something massive for that, but it would be nice, just safe precaution, to have something where anything that may generate heat can go out. What else? Materials are gonna have to be light, I'm thinking, so I can move it back and forth, but not so fragile that weather will destroy it if it's outside. I was thinking of when and if I can finish that, enter it into Times Square. The Times Square has this thing where multiple locations around the city and around Times Square you can submit an art piece, and it'll be an installation in the spring and summer for people to see. I wanted to enter it in I think it's called the Times Square Midnight Moments. I don't want to say contest. Contest isn't right. But display, where it's a bunch of billboards, and for like 3 minutes around midnight, they'll showcase your piece. And they showcase a few pieces a month, a piece or a few pieces a month, I think. So, but unfortunately, for that one, I'll mention that in a different video. But that one, because I'm thinking about, I'll have to modify a piece, because they don't accept still images and series of still images. They only accept video entries, or at least that's the closest description, the closest terminology I can give. But it has to be animated of sorts. They don't do audio though either, which is kind of weird, but I guess it also makes sense. But I have a different idea for that, where I can modify one of my current art pieces that will have to be an entirely different thing. That'll be an entirely different video. But for the most part, that's my idea. So far, this is just the beginning of this project, which it came kind of late, happening during Disability Pride Month, but I wanted to get the word out, because I thought it was a fun piece. At some point, at a later date, once I've done all the research I need to do on different conditions, brainstorming, okay, well, how can what can I do to, showcase that? Again, nystagmus, it's okay, movement of iris. Well, it's simple. The N will just move back and forth. Yeah. Oh, another point I wanted to bring up with that, because in case, I was thinking 2 ways it could go. Well, one is, if you're looking at it, I don't think you necessarily need to see the N. So maybe if it's not an interactive, and I say interactive as like touch piece, where I can actually put because if I can put the Braille lettering with each letter, and then people can go up and actually read it, like, oh, okay, that's the letter N, oh, okay, that's A, that's B, that's C, that so on. The N's not going to move at 100 miles an hour. So it'll just slowly move back and forth, even if it's not scientifically accurate to how the actual condition, like how fast it makes your eye move. Actually, that's a good point. I'll have to remember that, to look that up, like how fast that makes your pupils go back and forth. Try and match the speed for scientific accuracy. But if it's not touch interactive, then I'm thinking I could do that. Like still have the little piece in the center of the end where it's like, oh, here's the braille symbol for it, but could also just speed it up for scientific accuracy. That way the braille symbol in the center stays still so you can actually see and read it. But otherwise that's where, so there's two routes. It's either touch interactive or not. But either way, I thought the eye chart would be fun. So no matter what, there's still an interactive element. I'm trying to think what else is part of this project. Right now, that's just it. It's more research and brainstorming right now. It's then at a later date, once I have all the research done, I don't know if I want to just do an alphabetic order with the letters and just put as many of those, just, or I want to use like specific letters and stuff. I'm thinking just in case, not like I want to not include certain conditions or anything, but just depending on how many I can think to, I don't want to say visually represent. I feel like visually represent is the wrong term, but depending on how many letters I can make visually represent its condition, I feel like I might have to cut some out, but we will see. I feel like it'd be interesting to use less common letters like, X, Z, W, I don't know. I thought that would be a longer list. But overall, that's it for this project. That's it for the first step. I'll make update videos. I don't know what I'm doing. I wanted to start filming my process because recently after I moved, I started being in this new environment, I started coming up with like 3 different sculpture ideas. But then I started realizing, maybe I should film it because I don't have a studio anymore where I can go and hang out with other artists or work with other artists like I did back in my old area. At least not right now. But so I thought this would be a fun idea and a way of like capturing the process and I don't know, just documenting it, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's mainly it for this project. It's just the research and development stage. Well, research stage. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I'm bad at intros, don't know what to say. You have a good day.